Today on Geek Dad Life, we're going to review the new McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman. Hello everybody and welcome to Geek Dad Life. It's Jay Gladfelter here, and it is January 19th. You're actually seeing this on the 20th, but is the official start and release day for all the new Batman and Superman and DC toys and action figures from McFarlane Toys and Spin Masters. So today we're looking at the Batman Detective Comics 1000 version of the character. They'd have this one and the animated series version. And this is the second one that I've picked up at my local Target, along with my Superman figure that I reviewed last week. And I like the Superman figure so much that I definitely wanted to seek out some of the other figures from this line. So this is the next one that I found. I have the Batgirl pre-ordered, as well as that kind of Batpod car thing. And then I also want to find the Spin Masters versions of the Batman toys to review as well. So looking at the packaging here, it looks a little tight, so hopefully those ankles aren't messed up. But it is the same packaging as Superman, as I assume most of the toys will be. Remember, our goal is to see if this figure is shelf worthy. We do that by having 6 categories to rank and judge this figure, with the first being packaging, second being paint, and I'm adding sculpt to this category, so paint sculpt. Third, articulation. 4, QC, quality control. 5, accessories. And 6, that fun factor. Hopefully adding up to 24 points each category. We have a maximum of 5 points. So, packaging is probably going to be the same as the Superman, which was around 3, but we'll see in the final tally. So let's open this thing up, which again, we have 3 pieces of tape holding the top in. Makes it a little excessive, but still. All right, so the kind of tray contains 2 accessories, the Batarang and the gun and the figure. And then the back has the collectible card, which features that Jim Lee cover artwork from Detective Comics 1000. We also have an action figure stand, which is a nice inclusion. Not a flight stand like the Superman figure had, which is a bit of a bummer. I know Batman doesn't fly, but he's definitely, in a lot of aerial poses, which could have been cool. But I understand why it wasn't added, but still makes it feel a little less special than the Action Comics 1000 Superman. Looking closely at maybe a little bit of paint sloppiness, like there's a couple marks on the chest, a little bit on the face, but overall pretty clean looking figure. Nothing too out of the ordinary, except some of these joints kind of a little wonky in the packaging. It might be because just the tray that's supposed to hold it's a little small. So hopefully that doesn't negatively affect the figure in any way once we get it out of the packaging. Again, just one small little kind of strip here in the middle holding it in, and it comes out pretty easily. We also have his 2 accessories, his grappling hook gun, as well as his Batarang, which clearly I'm destined to lose. Looking at the articulation out of the box, the head seems a lot more posable than the Superman. This head does seem smaller than the Superman figure. I don't know if that plays a factor, or if not having any hair plays a factor, but this one is far more posable. My arm joint here seems a little looser compared to the Superman. It doesn't really click like the Superman one did. I don't know if that's a standard part of the figure, but yeah, a lot looser. And this one's way tight. So probably just this figure. I would assume that's not going to be across all of the different DC 1000 Batman figures. This one definitely clicks like the Superman figure did. So this is just a loose arm by the looks of it, but it doesn't seem to affect it negatively in any way. You have the ab crunch. I really like this ab crunch on these figures. It looks really nice. And the hip and legs articulating, which is good. If there's only kind of a nitpick that I have so far with these is there's no like boot cuts. So the boot seems like a little like skewed. I'd like it more lined up with the knees. But that's just a little nitpick there on the scope. But maybe something in the future they could fix. But overall, McFarlane, we used to always tease McFarlane because they're just kind of static figures, but they've come a long way in terms of articulation, and that definitely feels pretty good on this one, just like the Superman figure. Checking in on the paint and sculpt. The sculpt looks great. I love the details along the side of his bat suit. I think you could definitely criticize some aspects here and there. I would still prefer a cloth cape, but it still looks good. Some people are saying the head is too small on this. I wouldn't disagree with them, but I think it has more to do with his cowl than his actual, head shape, because a lot of Batman figures seem smaller. The stand works pretty good, stands up easy, so, a good design and build. Holds his accessories well, like the hands are a little, rubbery, so that's an easy thing to do. Even if the the batarangs a little big in comparison, but it's, again, probably to, help us not lose it. So yeah, looking at this figure, it looks great. I think in terms of the articulation, it's less obtrusive to me than the Superman was, and I think just because the Batman suit is always kind of more technical and more armor than Superman, who doesn't really need armor. It's just something to wear. But yeah, so I think just overall the sculpt, they did a good job. And to the people thinking the head's too small, honestly, in package it looks small, but seeing it in person or out of the package, I think it looks right. I think, when we think about the cowl, I think it just is going to make the head seem smaller. So I don't think that's a sculpt miscue. I thought it was going to be when looking at the box, kind of, seeing other people's pictures, but in hand, it does not seem that small. And then looking at the accessories, the grappling hook gun is kind of cool. Adding in kind of an action pose where you have, the string kind of coming out with the grappling hook on the other side is a neat way to go about it, which I think will lead to some really cool action figure photography for the people that do it really well. I can definitely see, I think there's already been a few, but even more really neat action poses. Again, love that these are coming with a stand. It is not as glorious as a Superman stand, but still nice that it comes with one. I can't tell you how many times I've had to buy third-party stands in bulk. One benefit here compared to the flight stand is it is a lot smaller, so it'll take less footprint. But yeah, so putting the grappling hook here, again, I'm not a connoisseur for displaying by any means, but I think there could be some really neat ways to kind of utilize that kind of in-action pose grappling hook gun that this figure comes with. All right, let's do some comparison shots. Here is the DC 1000 Batman alongside the AC 1000 Superman. And I think they look great. I think they, kind of belong in the same universe. And yeah, I like the way it looks. All right, now let's bring in the early 2000s Mattel Batman figure. And why I wanted to include this one is this was like the first stab at Batman that Mattel had. While the articulation is primitive by today's standards, I think it still holds up pretty well. And I think you can argue even this one can seem like it has a small head in comparison to the rest of its body, which I think, again, is just a cape and cowl thing. But yeah, I think it looks well. I think, going for similar feels here, just like your standard classic Batman look for both the first McFarlane and first Mattel Batman figure. Next up is my all-time favorite Batman action figure, the Sky Wrench Batman that was released twice with the Dark Knight collection and the Batman Returns collection. It's just one of my favorite figures. It's a kind of a tweaking of the original Superpowers Batman, but, adding a lot of the Keaton Bats features while also kind of being in a more comic book colorway. All right, now it's time to tally up our grades to see if this figure is shelf worthy. Remember, we have 6 categories that can have a maximum of 5 points in each category, and if we add all of those together and we get 24 or more, that is what we deem as shelf worthy here on Geek Dad Life. Starting with packaging, last with the Superman, it's almost exactly the same. Almost knocked at another point for how tight it was for this Batman, but still going to give it a 3. Next up is the paint and sculpt category. I think overall it turned out really good. It looks like Batman. I thought I was going to ding it for the head being too small, but in person I think it looks perfectly fine. It looks good. The paint, again, for a mass retail figure at $19.99. Is there a little specs here and there, maybe a little bit off? Yes, but it still looks great. So I'm going to give it a 4. I'm also going to give articulation a 4. One better than the Superman figure. I think, it being the bat suit makes it more inclined to kind of look better with all the articulation points that the figure has, all 22 of them. For quality control, I'm also going to give it a 4. No major issues, a little bit of loose joints, but doesn't impact it at all. Accessories, I'm going to knock it a little bit, going to bring it down to a 3. compared to the Superman that had flight, stand, and the fists, I would have liked to see some more fists, just a little bit more than a little boomerang, and the grappling hook gun would have set this one apart a little bit. And for the last category, fun factor, I'm going to give it a 5. Again, having it in hand, setting up, posing it for this video, it's Batman, and feels like Batman, looks like Batman, a Jim Lee Batman at that. And again, for the price, I think it's a really, really good action figure for a collector. Adding up all of those points, that gives us a score of 23, not quite shelf-worthy. And again, shelf-worthy means no matter what, even if you have a Batman section or not, it deems a place on your shelf. So I don't think it's a really bad knock. I still think it's a really good Batman action figure, but just a little bit shy of being a truly great action figure. But still, I think definitely worth the buy at under $20 retail. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Geek Dad Life. If you enjoy what we do here on the channel, hit like, hit subscribe, and click on that bell icon to be notified when the latest episode of Geek Dad Life drops. This will be DC week here on the channel. Going to be reviewing a few other McFarlane Toys action figures, as well as some of the new Spin Master Batman toys, new approaches and new takes to these characters that we all know and love. That'll do it for this episode. We'll see you later this week with more Batman action figure reviews. Until then, hasta luego, and goodbye.